Well, folks, I do show 7 p.m., so if Panda is ready, we shall all rise. Let's open the meeting with the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome Panda TV crowd and others. This is July 8, 2019, Village Board, Village of Red Hook monthly meeting. It's a wonderful day out here. I think we got through the hot, muggy days around July 4th, and today felt like a nice reprise, but I guess it'll get warmer again. I think we do have our cooling station sign somewhere in case it gets hot again later. We oftentimes open Village Hall by putting a mobile sign out front, and we would offer that again. Let's get to our meeting here. It is vacation season, and Jennifer Norris is absent, so Charles is covering my left flank here. She's off at a out-of-state gathering, so can't be here tonight. What we should do is look at the minutes from 3 meetings we had in June. One was a regular monthly meeting of June 10. Next was a special meeting of June 17th. And the third was a workshop on June 20th. The clerks did circulate the minutes. I went through, reviewed them, and circulated them all digitally to you folks. The copies I have are okay with me. Anybody else have any additions, alterations, or other corrections? I would move that we accept those 3 sets of minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. In our custom in the days of sadness, we do, while we're in the world of minutes, we do like to block out a special page for village residents who have passed away. And we were all saddened to hear with the death of Rebecca Aronson. She was a village resident for a while. She was actually on the Panda rep board for us, and then on one of our boards here in the village.
Zoning board.
She, to be honest, it's the Zoning Board of Appeals. She had an illness that eventually took her down, and it was not a great thing to contract, and something she could never get over apparently. And so anyway, in her memory, we would like to ask the clerk to leave a page blank with her name, and I think maybe the 2 positions she held with us too would be good to put on there too. So, everybody okay with that? All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, and then we have in July, the first month to talk about with our cash flow regeneration due to property tax revenue arriving here at the village. I know it's something we all like to keep under control, and we here on the board work hard. We've, for the past 5 or 6 years, kept us within the cap, and also kept providing required services and done some great enhancements as well. As far as the treasurer's report, it looks like we're at that point where we get to say we have a touch over $1 million in the general fund, 1.09 to be exact. But I'll go through the report here, and we can have comments later. So current account balances in the general fund, we have $1,109,803. Water fund, $29,073. Trust and agency, $18,778. Petty cash, $49.05. Village green, $4,149. Hard scrabble, $1,714. Health insurance, $6,318. Sewer fund, $30,090. As far as expenses for the month, they're circulating around in the voucher packets there. General fund expenses are $170,796. Water fund was $10,534. Trust and agency, $18,778. And sewer, there were no expenses. A little bit later on in the regular meeting, we'll talk about something I want to do with the water fund. Right now, we do have the June quarterly billing coming in revenue, and that was billed out at about $120,000. And what the treasurer has done is, with the change of the fiscal year, funded that short-term asset fund that we're required to keep with the USDA loan requirements. And then, so that's had some impact there, but there was also funding, maybe Cindy, in the general fund, it says 170,000 and close to $171,000 was spent. Were there any one or two big expenses? I know we probably paid the fire company the first 60,000 in there, is that, in that number?
Yes, and insurances.
Insurances. The insurance number for the general package policy is about $62,000 in that range.
Yes.
So between those two, there's 120. Because at first glance, the 170 seems a little heavy for 1 month's expenses in June.
Plus, I paid all the due-tos already. I did them right away.
Okay, all right. That would be those various reserve funds, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. With that being explained a little bit, I would move that we accept the treasurer's report. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thanks. In my packet, I also have a police report. I just have to find it here. For the month of June 2019, looks like the numbers are pretty much flat line if we graph these things, but incidents were 318. Breakout is 226 in the village, 84 in the town of Red Hook, 8 in the village of Tivoli. Tickets issued, 94 in the village of Red Hook, which includes 9 parking tickets and 32 in the town of Red Hook. Arrests were 13, breaks out 5 in the village of Red Hook and 8 in the town of Red Hook. And was it last evening? Yeah, it was, I think we dodged the bullet here, but just north of the village, I know the police were out helping out with fire companies and so forth. There was a really big storm rolled through just a bit north of us and missed us, but kind of knocked trees and different things down, blocking roads, so they're out busy on that. And then, but that wouldn't be in these numbers, but they were out working on that in the height of the lightning. I know too, while we're in this, I don't have the fire company report here. Sometimes they walk in a little bit late, but,
It's here.
oh, is it? Okay.
Going to help you.
Oh, sorry. Good that it's here. It's, just looking at it quickly since I haven't seen it yet. It's, looks like somebody, yeah. Well, I'll use this one.
We didn't have one last month.
Okay. This looks like it is ending May 31, so it might be what they brought in. It's received here June 24, yeah. Usually they hand walk it in. Looks like now they're mailing it to us, which is fine. But this report indicates 75 total calls. The breakout is 22 fire calls and 43 EMS. And for everybody, just to be reminded, that's not just with the village, that's village and town of Red Hook calls. And what we do is I then later highlight these and break them out into a spreadsheet to keep track of how many are town calls versus village calls, because we, in our contracts and different negotiations, we negotiate with the town and the fire company based on call spread and then building values, population counts. It's one of the factors we push in when we're talking to them about where the response time is needed and where their expenses are based. So anyway, we do have that. I know I circulated to the board, and everybody's probably seen it, but Tivoli had the worst-case scenario one could imagine, and Red Hook's helping out, as are other local fire companies, but they lost their fire department building, which is their offices, their garages, their storage areas, and their ambulance, as well as what they call an older pumper truck. Apparently, they were able to save their newer vehicle, but that is a horrendous problem. It's I don't know how long the insurance would take, but it seems to me you'd have to get a new building, and then also somehow in the interim store your fire truck so it's safe over the dry, hot summer and then the wet, rainy, icy winter. And so they're going to have the work cut out for them. I'm looking at different contacts. the county's offered to help out. County Emergency Services, our fire company, of course, is helping out in Germantown and so forth. But it's a nightmare scenario that I wouldn't want to have happen to us. And it's, you know, ours is a bigger place, but man, on high, it's a lot of work and a lot of money to dig out of that one. But anyway, that's the fire report. Later on, we'll talk about personnel a little bit. Some will be in executive session, but for the record, and we did circulate another email to the entire board, but Cindy's assistant clerk, Ari Drews, has decided to resign and take a job somewhere else. And so we're in the market of picking up on resumes we have in-house, looking at some more. And then I think, as I mentioned in the email I circulated, I think we need to also consider the big picture, you know, what solution do we want to pick? Do we want to go with exactly what we have or some variation? And we can talk a little bit more about that. But right now, I'm working on interim coverage because Ari gave 2 weeks' notice. The last day is July 19, and that's not that far away from, it's 11 days from today. And she's, we're going to have to have coverage here for short term until we do find the person we want to hire and so forth. So, or the model we want to follow and what we do in hiring. But anyway, and then we can go into executive session a little bit on some of the things that are more personnel related that should be confidential. Looks like we could then head, sir, to Mr. Trustee Trapp on planning and zoning. You have your papers
Yes,
there?
indeed. I always touch on just a little bit Dutchess County Planning Federation Board of Directors. We're kind of in limbo at this point. We haven't firmed up much of our fall yet. We're discussing. We're going to have another meeting here shortly, and hopefully we'll firm up. We've had a couple of personnel changes. A couple of people left the board, moved away another state. So we're replacing some folks, and we're getting there. I think we'll have a full complement in a month. So that's good. And let's see here. For the month of June, and the building department, the monthly trustee report, 10 building permits were issued. No certificates of occupancy were issued. 6 certificates of compliance were issued. 3 municipal searches were conducted. 1 order to remedy. 5 fire inspections were conducted. 3 complaints were tendered, and no planning board the past month due to no quorum. Happens from time to time because of the vacation schedules. And no June meeting. The meeting was moved to July 3, and that was in agreement with an applicant's request to then reschedule. So June money taken in at the building department was actually a pretty good month, $2,321.60. I don't have a lot this month, so I'll chime in when we get to other stuff.
Okay, thank you, Jay.
Yep.
Yeah, I do see the fire inspector. He's in here a couple days a week and then out on the road. So we're in that cycle of checking the buildings that are required to be checked each year or every 3 years. Let's see. Why don't we jump? Charlie, are you ready for water there?
Surely.
Go ahead then, Charles.
Okay, the Village of Red Hook Water Treatment Facilities Monthly Report. So during the month of June, the water treatment facility treated 7,477,000 total gallons, which is an average of 249,200 gallons per day. In the scheme of things across the year, that's quite a high number. So we may want to, check back in with the water managers and see if there's anything that might, account for that uptick. I know is all that testing related to the interconnection? Is that?
It gets passed, so I don't think that would happen.
No.
Yeah.
There were also 3 bacteriological samples were collected and sent out to Smith Environmental Labs in Hyde Park, and they all came back absent of coliform or E. coli bacteria, which is what is sampled for, so that's always reassuring. Chemical usage during the month of June, the water treatment plant used 80 gallons of sodium hypochlorite, and the average daily use was 2.67 gallons per day. So that's the summary. There's a few outstanding issues that are being addressed with the system, the ongoing saga of the tower, the elevated storage tank, and still trying to handle some of those issues with the SCADA system.
Right, thank you. You're looking at the one attachment there, like Charlie said, the 249 is a little higher than we're used to seeing. It is June. Are people watering
Gardens and
plants,
stuff,
gardens,
right?
things?
Yeah.
What I like to look at the daily report, that one exhibit there, and sometimes you see an out of whack number, but they all seem to be dancing right around that mid-twos. And that column treated water volume, that one, so, it's not like there's a super high day when something was leaking and got fixed.
Yeah,
But yeah, we'll have to,
well, we'll keep an eye on it, see what
Yep.
happens next month.
good. Thank you. Let's see. I think I'll do, like we said, Jennifer's not here. A couple things. She was trying to process into us her actual spreadsheet, but it did not arrive here. So I pulled, and I think I put in all your boxes, the actual, what we get every month from Ulster County Resource Recovery, and then ran some totals on it. As far as in the garbage materials management world, what I'm seeing is, like water, we measure things here in quantity so we can help manage what we decide to do. In the household garbage side, we pushed 7.61 tons off to the transfer station. And in the recycled materials component, we pushed 3.04 tons, so call it 3 tons out of 7.5 tons. It's still a good recycling rate. What I like to do is, sometimes when we think of tons, it sounds like small numbers, 7 and 3. But converting that to pounds, it's 15,220 pounds of garbage, and then 6,080 pounds of recycling. So it's still a fair amount of quantity and moving off. And when I was traveling myself this past week, I was looking in the Cambridge, Massachusetts area and some of the surrounding communities. They actually do offer compost pickup through in actual big bins, and they do offer. They put their, they call it yard landscaping waste into a different sort of bin, but then they have to manhandle those things into trailers and so forth. It's a little bit of a more work. Ours, we have we don't have an actual garbage truck with robot arms or claws or anything to lift things. It's just our guys have to lift and move things. But just trying to determine what our residents would like for services. But right now we can do the garbage and recycling, and we're still doing that. And as you all know, we have seen what I would consider a pretty significant drop-off as compared to years past, so we are feeling pressure from the outside haulers. But we still feel that we're the most inexpensive, and our process of pay-as-you-throw, buy your tags to use our system motivates and causes people to do more, to pay more attention to recycling. And we have 3 tons over 7 tons is a little less than 50% rate of recycling, and most times we're a little higher than that. It's 3 over 7 is probably 40%, something like that, whatever the math is. Let's see, somewhere below 50. But we do entice folks. We now have our pickup schedule on our website, our new website. Did it also?
I want to say what the website is, because everybody's.
Oh, you want to pull your mic, or you good?
Well, it's villageofredhook.org. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no more New York. It's villageofredhook.org.
I had
It's a
trouble
beautiful website. It's very easy
today.
to use and maneuver, especially once you get used to it. It's very clean, neat.
Jay, were you starting to say something down there?
While at lunch today, I had difficulty getting on. It came up with some sort of server error or some sort
Oh,
of.
really?
Yeah. Any idea what that's all about?
I know I'm fine. Somebody called and told me the same thing, but you
Yeah.
can't put in the word NY.
I just typed in Village of Red Hook and hit it, and the search engine came up and it said Village of Red Hook, and there was Town of Red Hook underneath it in Village, and I hit Village, and it came up to that error.
See what happens here as pulling it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are still bugs to
Hmm.
be worked out. Yeah, it's coming up.
Okay.
But maybe you could show people.
Yeah, the
we-
recycling schedule is down on the bottom, and you go to the lower left, and you hit View All. Or actually, go to Read On Trash, go to Read On,
Oh, okay, I clicked on trash, but
there it
it
is.
comes out that way too.
There's the schedule.
Nice.
There.
Now, did this go out in the recent
No,
newsletter? So it's all digital now?
yes.
Okay.
And they are available here at the Village Hall.
Yeah, so come on in, say hello. Looks like somehow, when I clicked Village of Red Hook video results, looks like me hiding behind the play arrow there. I don't know. But anyway. But anyway, Village of Red Hook. It is a little confusing having a town with the same name. But that's our new website. And we have something, online payments right now, that's our court fines, but we're doing some searching, trying to find ways we can do more with online payments and so forth. Anyway, I did the garbage part, but then on the celebrations entertainment part, I'll hold something up for the Panda, and I don't know if it's in your mailboxes, but on July 20th, we're going to be hosting out in the Village Municipal Parking Lot a Sun Carnival. What it is, it's essentially the company Suncom, and then remember the Sustainable Hudson Valley not-for-profit organization we worked with over the years? They're going to showcase and highlight electric vehicle options, and from what they tell me, they get the EV car dealers to come with a salesperson and put a car or two out of their product line into the parking lot, and they offer free test drives. And the whole idea is to get people more able to see them up front and take a little ride around and so forth. So I think it'd be worth it. Since there's a quasi-profit motive, I told them we would need $150 for use of our lot, that kind of thing. So, and then, but they're doing all the organizing, the advertising. It's not costing us anything, and it's.
You're tough, Ed.
But they're going to do. They're going to have some live music. They actually have a Mr. Roper band from WKZE, and we're going to put our stage is the last request. I think they still wanted our stage, even though it's only one performance and one band. Some kind of, they were projecting, rather than a food truck site, entice them to see if they get the local restaurants to offer a 10 or 15% discount where people would wander to the restaurant. And if you pick up a card from a booth, you can get the discount card and go in. And but again, I interviewed one or two restaurants who seemed interested, but it was their job to go around and find the others to see. So
Oh, you know what would be really good, Ed?
What's that?
Would be if they could get the rock band Tesla to reunite for that.
There you go.
is there a band Tesla? Wow. Yeah.
Nicely done,
They
Charlie.
were like a hair band, I think.
Oh, really? Yeah. I missed that band. I don't know.
And they'd have the Tesla cars.
Yes, it
So
all
there
just
you go.
fits beautifully.
That'd be good. But anyway, so like I said, the good part is it's they're organizing it. I think they're going to be promoting it on local radio stations and so forth. So it'll be a good community event for the village on top of the message that they're conveying. So, but they do say here, Charlie, maybe you're reading ahead of me, some of the newer models from Tesla, Nissan, Audi, Chevy, Hyundai, Kia, BMW, and more. So,
I might be in the market.
yeah. Yeah, come take a ride. Learn about how to power your life and cars with solar and all the state and federal incentives making it easy and affordable. So, live music. Good. So I guess you saw that panda lady? All right. As far as other things going on, and the library has their monthly music on the porch. Somebody called me one day, said, "Oh, you're doing a Porch Fest in Red Hook?" I said, "No, I don't know about that." And it turns out they saw something about music on the porch for the library. So somehow the word got a little misconstrued there. So that would be what Jen normally talks to us about. I don't have the tag sales, but
So how are we doing with hardscrabble? Any prospects yet?
well, we have our meetings every other week now. We have a volunteer committee working very hard. We are reorganizing a little bit. We're going to centralize and put the stage closer to the kiosk and then put our vendors more into the back of the municipal lot and into the Key Bank lot. Today, I did get confirmation from Key Bank that we can go into their lot as well and put our handicapped and different facilities over there along with that. But to answer your question, our music connection said he tried to book a band called The Fix with 2 X's on the end, The Fix, but couldn't get them. And then the one that's still kicking around a little bit is, remember the band Sly and the Family Stone? They have apparently an offshoot. It's some of their younger family members who are just called the Family Stone. And we're bidding on them. I think they'd be fun. It's like they do apparently all the Sly and the Family Stone pieces, but we'll have to see. And somebody was handing me something here. Let me just see if I have to talk about this. Oh, yeah. Jay's helping plot out and map out booth size and lot dimensions and how many folks we can fit in. But yeah, it's September 21. That website is up too. I could show you that if you like. I know they're taking vendors and so forth already, so people are looking for it. And then the thing we've talked about at other meetings is on August 17, Red Hook and Tivoli Fire Companies are celebrating their 100th anniversary. And I've been going to meetings on that. It's going to be a huge, huge event. They've got all kinds of fun things going over at the firehouse on the day of the parade. The parade's at 5 p.m. on August 17th. We're helping coordinate a little bit of it from the logistics we would provide, meaning permits for closing the highways and police department to coordinate some of the related highway use aspects, meaning you have to block certain roads and do certain detours. What's kind of interesting, it's the weekend before Dutchess County Fair, so a lot of those portable message signs are already booked in the Dutchess County Fair zone. And we're trying to get those, they call them like VMSs. It's a portable signs that you read when you're traveling that's got a manipulatable, changeable message on it. And we reached out to Kevin Cahill, who's our local assembly person. He put us in touch with Ulster County Highway Department, and they're offering some of those signs. And it's kind of a neat cross the river shared services concept. So that happened. But so you have July 20th, the Sun Carnival, August 17th, the Fireman's Parade and celebration. There'll be fireworks, free fireworks at the firehouse that night. And they have all kinds of bands, more local, but we did entice Firehouse Productions to come in and do the sound for them. So should make it really nice. And then I know, some of our local music guys, I think there's something coming up this weekend at one of the farms that does some music stuff. So it'd be good. Summertime and time to have some fun. But anyway, that's it for celebrations. I guess we could move to Deputy Mayor Kowalczyk. Are you ready to work?
Yep.
Okay.
Start with the Village Green monthly reports. Related budget accounts of the Village Green Committee are as follows. Community beautification, we have a balance of $4,000. Shade tree contractual, balance of $10,500. And our checking account, $4,192.92. We had a Village Green Committee meeting on June 22nd, and we are preparing for our 2019 annual fall planting day, and we have several sites in mind, including 5th Street, South Broadway, North Broadway, Old Post Road, Mall Drive, and Richard Abrahams Memorial Park. And we're also discussing getting a web page up and running on our new village website. So we do have a volunteer who's stepped forward to start that process and work with our in-house staff on updating and including the Village Green Committee on the village website. And anyone interested in getting trees planted, either in the fall or we plant twice a year, can contact David Pearson, myself, or the village clerk, and we'll take your address down and plant you a tree. Village Highway monthly report. Village Highway Department is picking up brush and lawn debris on every first and third Monday, or when their time and weather permits. And residents are reminded to place lawn debris curbside and not in the street, and limit the brush piles to 6 feet by 6 feet by 6 feet, with tree branches no larger than 6 inches in diameter. Any brush that includes tree trunks, stumps, grass clippings, garbage, or building materials will not be picked up. The village has approved an estimate to remove and replace portions of the existing sidewalk along the Prince Street side of the village building. The estimate from Frank Vosberg and Sons includes hammering out portions of the sidewalk at a cost of $300. The cost of concrete to replace the removed section is estimated to cost $550. That's a great price. And this will be funded through our general fund maintenance of streets budget line. And repairs and upgrades to the electrical services operating the village municipal parking lot. Streetlights have been completed, so we will now have all the street lamp posts working in the parking lot. Additional work, including the installation of new catch basins and repaving of the parking lot, are expected to be complete before Hardscrabble Day. And we did receive a couple estimates on that, and the village board of trustees did pass a resolution on June 20th authorizing the village treasurer to utilize the Salisbury Bank line of credit up to $45,000 to pay for the cost of the parking lot upgrades until we get the reimbursement from the grant that we got from Assemblyman Kevin Cahill, and it's administered by the New York State DASNY, which is the Dormitory of State of New York. And the village reviewed and approved an estimate from Easy Street Cleaning to repaint 76 stop bars, 8 crosswalks, and 6 bike symbols on June 7th. That's already done. This cost us about $4,220, and also taken from our general fund account. And no revenue was generated for the sale of scrap metal during the month of June. So far, we've raised nothing this year. I did notice a full dumpster, though, at the park. So that'll be coming in. So far, since the inception of the program in 2007, we've raised $28,707.47. And the Intermunicipal Task Force and Red Hook Infrastructure monthly report, the Red Hook Sewer Project continues. Meetings were held on June 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th in the Red Hook Village Building. And we reviewed the comments of May 31st with Dutchess County DOH, including options to increase storage and/or pumping capacity in septic tanks for 1 to 6 bedroom residential properties in the service area. That was, I think, a productive meeting that we had, and it was actually very, very good. We saw a lot of cooperation between our engineers and DOH, so it was good.
But doesn't 1 to 6 bedroom basically means all residential properties?
Basically, but there's different requirements for, what they're looking at is extra storage capacity in case of a power outage.
Which means
So-
bigger tanks?
In some cases, it means bigger tanks. Some cases, it means duplex pumps, 2 pumps. But it's basically it's excess storage capacity. That's what it would take.
Right.
So then also provisions in our sewer use law that if a use were to change, that would increase the size of the water usage, such as we have a retail business that is now a clothing store that turns into a restaurant. They would be doing more water, and so there's a provision in our sewer use
You
law
might have
that
to add another pump or some way to
increase the
manage
tank.
that.
So we've covered that.
Hey, Brent, can we interrupt you a moment?
Yep.
We got a busy guy roomed in. we're saying before the fire company, we read the prior month's report, but looks like they're bringing in the current month's.
No waiting, come on.
And we know they're busy. We explained how Tivoli lost equipment and facilities, and you guys are helping share and working, and it sounds like a nightmare for Tivoli and probably half a nightmare for everybody else touching right nearby. But it's, I don't know, did you want to say something? And you can talk to the,
So we are working with Tivoli to get them kind of up and running again. We're doing what we can. We just did some training tonight with them.
oh, yeah.
So we've gotten that ball rolling. We're going to be helping them with their calls, with our ambulance where we can. And so we'll be working together, you know, just like always, just a little bit closer now, that's all. So, but yeah, I've got the reports. For June, we had 38 fire calls and 51 EMS calls. So that's 89 calls total for the month. And then I've got the previous month too, so that
Oh, good.
gets us caught up. I just wanted to check on the grant that you were going to be working on for the stormwater, for the roof leaders and the drain. And I just
Yeah.
wanted to check on that.
I know we talk about it, and we haven't come across one that fits into the plan yet. We're trying to look for a way to protect, we have that one well in your parking area there.
Right.
That would be our angle to get at it. We have the next round of community development block grants coming up where we would file in October. It could be, Jay, do you think a block grant would be interested in, what we're trying to do is take drainage or do something to alleviate any exposure to that one well in the corner? I know we're limited to AD.
Sell.
Yeah, yeah.
It's gonna be a tough sell.
If it was somehow affiliated with the ADA requirement, that would be.
Yeah,
It's based on median household income and where there's a low and moderate levels that they usually fund, and if you exceed that, you don't qualify for as much money or as many different types of projects.
So we're not in the low mod anymore, so what we have to qualify are Americans with disability sort of projects, and if we can figure out how to fold it into that, we might be able to sell it, so.
yeah, that'd be, then the next round of CFAs are, that's consolidated, it's another grant process.
Maybe WIA, Water
Yeah.
Infrastructure Improvement Act grant program, that may be.
Because what we're getting, the angle I think we would have to attack it from is that well, this wellhead protection angle.
You know, something.
Is there one thing driving you nuts over there with the drainage? I'm sorry. Is it,
Well, we'd like to get it addressed.
you Yeah. know,
It's
So-
washing out next to the building
Mm.
and so.
But
oh, yeah.
there may be some funding available through CPF, Community Preservation Fund, so it does have provisions for aquifer protection, wellhead protection. And that's something that we can investigate and make an application to the town of Red Hook for. So there is almost $1.5 million in that fund right now, so that might be an avenue to explore. CPF.
That'd be, what do you envision? Is it just guttering or, yeah, I was thinking more than that, but is it something simpler than I'm?
Running the gutters into a couple lines that would, where the one side doesn't have anything from the firehouse bays where the other side does.
Mm,
So, you know, we'd have a, you know, oil water separator or a grease interceptor or
mhm,
whatever would be needed,
mhm.
you know, for the one side, and the other side would just be straight to, you know, dry well or something to that effect.
Mm.
You know, but coming from the firehouse drains, that would go through something first.
We may qualify.
Mm. What Brent is referring to is that to set 2% tax on house sales over $250,000 in the town, and it's a fund that accrues in the town offices. It was originally designed for protection and purchase of farmland and different things like that, but there are some other little subcategories that we might be able to tweak. But it sounds like, Jay, the engineer side of you, that oil-water separation, is that a version of a catch basin grease trap? Is that what that is? or-
Yeah, the lower areas off of the parking, is that still within the bounds of the fire company's
Yeah.
property? Could you go to daylight there, maybe at some point, or would we, that's
For-
straight off the roof,
For the
right?
roof leaders, yes, we could
Okay.
probably do that, you know, but can we daylight it into, I don't know how, you know, where we were planning on putting the dry well was in our boundary. I don't know
Gotcha.
how far that goes to that, you know, that's.
Okay, I'll take a look at that sort of stuff.
Are you giving yourself an assignment there, Jay?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, does DEC have any grants? I get grant announcements from them on occasion, I don't know if any of.
Once in a while, they have stuff based on the watershed. I know the estuary.
Right.
I'll be speaking to the Saltkill watershed community next week. I could ask them on that. And usually there's representatives from DEC available, so.
Is there any market for electric fire engines? We could, the EV charging stations we got here was through a DEC grant. I'm making a joke there.
Yeah.
It's, to roll
I
out.
haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah. Yeah, we could look at,
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll take a peek.
Jay, look at one angle and Brent another. and-
Yeah, we'll see what we can, hopefully we'll come up with something here.
Right.
We can get you guys squared away.
Okay,
Good.
great. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Okay, thanks for coming in, man. Thanks. I guess I'll give these to you since you had the other one. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brent, for letting us take a break, but figure we get him in and out, especially with the,
Jack, your report.
got the Tivoli thing going on. I'm sure they're working crazy on that, so. Where were you there, Mr. Brent? You can-
I was knee-deep in the sewer project.
That's not a good, well, I guess it's a good place to be.
So back to recapping what we've been discussing at the sewer meetings. We also reviewed the time and critical path for the sewer project. Once the Dutchess County Department of Health approves the project, the New York State DEC needs to review applications and issue an amended speedies permit required before transfer of the speedies permit is possible. That's the transfer from the Red Hook Commons to the Village of Red Hook. Discharge permit, New York State DEC approvals are necessary to complete the transfer of the existing Red Hook Commons treatment plant and property to the Village of Red Hook. The timeline that we, I think, agreed upon was mid-November. The 2019 request for bids and a mid-December 2019 opening of bids is anticipated, with construction possibly beginning on the sewer project in February of 2020. An 18-month construction schedule, which will put us in July of 2021, is anticipated for substantial and final completion of the project. So a couple more months away, we're hoping to go out to bid. And we did set some deadlines for both our engineer and Dutchess County DOH to provide a final approval of our plans. Initial offerings for property owners who have not submitted easements were issued on June 21st. The initial offerings, which are part of the eminent domain proceedings, are being made on portions of the properties containing the sewer main only. Property owners who choose not to submit easements for tanks, pumps, and laterals will be required to install these components during a specified time at their own expense if they don't do it within the time frame that we're under construction. A meeting was held on June 28th in the Village of Red Hook with engineers from the Dutchess County Department of Health, our engineers from CT Mail, our attorney from Rodenhausen, Shaw, and Polidoro attended. We reviewed comments from the DOH of June 21st, including tank sizes and additional pumping requirements to handle peak and max day flow capacities for properties with 1 bedroom up to 6 bedrooms in the sewer service area. We discussed and reviewed and resolved odor control and venting requirements. And CT Mail will formally respond to Dutchess County DOH comments during the week of July 15th. And Department of Health is expected to review and approve the Red Hook Sewer Project during the week of August 5th, 2019. The Red Hook Village Water Project, Phase 2. Engineers and water operators from the Village of Red Hook met with members of the Town of Red Hook Water Commission. I think there was a mention in Charlie's report. And they were looking at possibly an additional valve to be located, but I guess they found an additional valve on Willowbrook. VRI will test the village and town water system interconnect to verify proper valve operations. And the goal is to permanently disconnect the Tower Street elevated water storage tank and have a backup water supply for the village in the event of emergency situations and/or malfunctions of the village's mechanical and control water systems. On the task force side, both Charlie and I sit on the task force representing the Village of Red Hook. The task force met on June 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th in the Red Hook Town Hall. And we reviewed draft copies of the Red Hook Town Law on short-term rentals. And we also discussed, we continually discuss the permitted short-term rentals in certain Red Hook Town zoning districts, including the number of rooms that can be rented in hosted and non-hosted primary dwelling units and possible regulations that may be enacted with respect to short-term rentals in the town of Red Hook. The goal of the task force is to propose the adoption by the Red Hook Town Board of balanced and reasonable regulations governing short-term rentals, allowing citizens to share the economic benefit of their property while protecting and preserving neighborhood character and long-term housing availability. It's a couple of the committees that I sit on in the town. Gets slower during the summer. There were no meetings of the Red Hook Town Zoning Review Committee or the Community Preservation Fund Advisory Board or the Sawkill Watershed Community. But talking of the Community Preservation Fund with Rob, the Fire Department, the current balance of the Community Preservation Fund as of June 30th is $1,445,239.62. The Northern Dutchess Alliance Executive Committee met on June 7th, and we discussed again short-term rentals seems to be a hot topic. Proposed legislation currently being considered in Northern Dutchess County, Greater Dutchess County, and Ulster County municipalities. The Northern Dutchess Alliance is considering drafting a white paper as a template and an outline of issues to be considered when municipalities are deliberating their own short-term rental regulations. A workshop including Northern Dutchess communities on short-term rentals is also being considered by the Northern Dutchess Alliance. The Town of Red Hook Local Waterfront Revitalization Program Working Group, we met on June 25th, and we are now reviewing some of the amended sections that we looked at previously, including the overview and the section on recreation and open space areas. And we reviewed the Red Hook Town and Village of Tivoli's local waterfront revitalization plan boundary map for possible revisions, amendments, and coordination, and reviewed a proposal from Nan Stolzenberg, a community planner and environmental associates, to prepare new maps for the updated version of the Red Hook Town local water revitalization plan. And we also discussed the new New York State requirements to include a harbor management plan in the updated LWRP. The Village of Red Hook Zoning Review Committee, Ray Towle, Jay Trapp, and myself have been trying to meet every Friday. We are looking at proposals to expand the general business district to include 19 properties of the R10,000 district, which is on an existing highway business along East Market Street. And we are also looking at proposals to expand the neighborhood mixed use district to include 6 properties on South Broadway and 1 property on Elizabeth Street. This near the chocolate factory. And we reviewed and proposed amendments to the permitted principal uses, accessory uses, and special permitted uses in the general business district. We also reviewed possible uses from the neighborhood mixed use and the highway business districts that may be included in the amended general business district. That's all I have.
Well, thank you. So I might just flesh out a couple of things there. When Brent was talking about on his highway department report with regard to the parking lot here, like you all know, we did approve that funding methodology, and what I've been doing is that acronym DASNY, Dormitory Authority, State of New York. We have that $125,000 grant from them, and we've spent $74,116 on the purchase and survey and different things. And the new expenses, we've got it designed to come in at about $124,766 total. So we're just a few dollars under the $125,000 grant. But our friend at DASNY is asking me to reshift columns in my spreadsheets and so forth. It's all known numbers and paid expenses, but it's like, so I'm trying to get it so he likes it. But yeah, we've got, as you can see above the line here are the incurred expenses that we've been reimbursed. And then below the line is whatever, 40-something thousand here. The paving's 29,000, conduit and parts for the electrical work we did, the drainage catch basin, striping, and then we're gonna do some in-kind components too. And I threw in a little contingency, but so we can do it within the grant. I just wanted to share, but I gotta get a spreadsheet that he likes. The numbers are real, but he wants it a certain way. So I'm working on that. Then the other thing I just wanted to, Brett mentioned and reported in on the streets, Easy Street cleaning that did the stop bars. I think it made a huge difference. It just cleans up the intersection, makes them, I think, a little safer, and just dresses up the look better.
Did a nice job, even
it's
with
pretty
the
neat.
bicycle pathways. You know, they hit the old ones right on the money, and they
Oh, yeah?
look
Right
like
over
they're
the template?
3D versions of
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah, now we just have to get the state. I think what I was trying to segue here, I don't think it came up at the last monthly meeting, but if you look out the window here, we have a new higher elevation, more of a green than yellow pedestrian warning markers out there. And they went up, maybe 3 weeks ago? I think it was subsequent to our last board meeting. And you all know this is the infamous $88,000 FAST grant we've been chasing for, 3 years? And we want what we call the flashy type signs. And I looked at them and said, there's no lights, there's no components, no solar array on the top. So I shot off some quick emails to the state and to our assembly person, and they said, this is interim. They're having problems getting contractors to bid on the job. And it seems like we're hearing that from different sources for different projects. And so they threw, I think they are a little more noticeable. They're a little taller, I think.
There's a warning sign before this, the crosswalk sign too, warning that a crosswalk is upcoming.
Yeah, so but anyway, if anybody asks you, those are not our end game, end product that we're looking for. It's something interim, which we'll take, but we want still what
But
we,
we are meant to be getting proper RRFBs.
well, you remember that, huh? Okay.
Well, we're supposed to
Yeah.
get, three
Two and two, right?
signs with lights around the sign, and then one, I believe, by the school,
I think it was 2 and 2.
two.
Yeah, 2 different versions of lighting, but.
The LED with the signal down by the
Yeah.
Meadow Commons. And these two on South Broadway will have the lights around there, and then another one. Are we getting more by the school?
Yeah, one by the school, one by the seniors, and then one here, and one by the library. I think the 2 outer ones are more noticeable because you're coming in at higher speed, and the 2
Those would be the
inches.
strobes, the LED solar activated.
So anyway, so if your residents ask, those are not the finals, but someday the bid will be accepted, and we'll get what we've been looking for. And then Brent touched on something in the water report. On Benner Avenue, we're going to be doing some work. You might recall in Phase 2 of water, we didn't go down Benner after Garden Street. And we've got bids, and we've got the project set to happen in the next couple of weeks. But the reason I bring it up is that one resident was having a flooded basement on Benner, and probably not to the extent that would make the number we see in the consumption go up, but They found there was a break in their service line, which is the customer's situation. So our operator went and turned off the valve on Benner, and the immediate next door neighbor happened to be away on vacation, came back and had no water. It turns out it's one of those old nightmare situations that we see the village had done once in a while, where there's two customers on one curb valve. So they, it was a little, I'm laughing because the highway guys, I think they're out doing brush pickup or something, and they say, "Hey Ed, some guy's got a hydrant hooked up with a hose and this and that." I'm like, what? But then I realized where it was all happening, and so it's with our permission, our operator, since it was now two customers out, they went to the hydrant, and we have that old technique of running from hose bib to hose bib. Sometimes you can have your neighbor help you get water by just through garden hose for short term. So anyway, the reason I bring it up is there will be construction on Benner for a couple of days, replacing the main, and then these two people have to then, at their cost, they'll dig their own separate service lines out to the main and pick up their own shut-off valves. And so it's, so if you see, as you're driving anywhere, if you see somebody that looks to be purloining water from a hydrant, it's not. So, but I just wanted to fill that in. We got through department and committee reports, and what I had, we'll go to regular business. Item 1 there is USDA Short-Term Asset Reserve Fund 2018-2019 transfers. A lot of words, but I put something in your packets, and when we read the water account balance, what caught my attention after the last meeting was it's a relatively low balance, and we have been, as expected, we have been funding that USDA reserve. It's called the Short-Term Asset Reserve Fund. It's designed to have us have enough money to fix things that break, that are more defined as short-term assets, not really replacing mains or anything that would be a major capital project. So I had a thought. We now have $82,500 in that reserve fund, and one of the questions we always had for USDA was, how big will that fund ever get? It's a 38-year loan term, and at 25 grand a year, I did the math, I think it's, I don't know, 400,000, 500, it's a number that's, you don't really need to have in a reserve fund for short-term assets. And even at 82.5, it's getting up there. So essentially, when we look at the water fund balance, we also have this 82,500 over in another fund. So I asked the financial people here to do a run from QuickBooks. What are water repairs in the last fiscal year, and what are some miscellaneous costs in the last fiscal year? And I was highlighting them myself, and at first blush, it looks like about $15,000 or so could have been coded as a short-term asset repair. The problem is, historically, we've had that money in the CD, which is hard to get out. There's a time sequence when you can get it out. So we've been operating to pull it out of general water operating funds and balances. My thinking is the 82.5 is a good amount, but I think I'd rather have whatever this actual number, I'm rounding that at 15,000, but I'd rather move that back from the short-term asset fund to specifically reimburse the water fund for those repairs that qualify. So what it would do is, I think it'd be a smarter use of the money. Instead of having 82.5 sitting over there, we'd have whatever 68,000 over there, and we'd bring it back and essentially reimburse. Because each month when we look at vouchers, certain of these expenses could have been coded, okay, that should come from the short-term asset fund. But like I said, in a CD, we just can't do that.
So my question would be, because USDA is looking for a separate account, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a money market or a CD, but it's just something that we do stockpile that asset when we do our
Yeah.
audits per year. They want to see that number.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if maybe you guys explain more, but if it's going back to the water fund.
I'll explain. I think you're over-interpreting something. So what we did this year, we instead of a CD, Cindy converted them to money market funds. I think they actually do a little better return, first of all, and they're more accessible. But Brent, I'm not saying move to 82.5. I'm just saying we would determine from these actual expenses, what was a short-term repair asset?
So the money market will enable us to get the money out in a
Yeah,
and we can still keep it
Right.
in that account, but just take the whatever funds out we need to make the water repair for the short term.
right. For instance, Brent, one up in miscellaneous, I don't know if I gave you this. We bought a new zero-turn lawnmower that covers mowing in the well fields and areas and highway. So we split it between highway and water. But we were replacing the existing short-term asset riding lawnmower, something, well, that should go over, in my opinion, that could be a short-term asset repair replacement type of
But
thing.
also look at the water report, a number of meters that needs replacements. Or
Yeah, like here, what I highlighted was like Badger meter, when we have an invoice from Badger Spinnenweber, PFV, that's where we buy a lot of supplies. Not every pipe is a short-term asset, we'd have to look at some of these, but, Teamwork Solutions, Charlie referenced the SCADA. We've been spending money on SCADA and programming, which to me is it's short-term asset type of repair.
Part of phase 2, so.
Yeah, so Badger Meter, Williams Lumber, when they buy certain things, Core and Main is a company that appeared. It's going to take a little more analysis, but what I prepared was a resolution. I'll read it, and I think it'll all gel, and we'll get some more discussion. I'm calling it authority to transfer short-term water repair costs from USDA RD Short-Term Asset Reserve Fund to water budget fiscal year 2018-19. So that's important. We're not looking for current year. It's what we can identify in the prior fiscal year and adjust. Whereas the Village of Red Hook maintains a short-term asset fund, I'm going to call it an STA, in line with requirements of the USDA RD to ensure there are funds on hand for short-term asset repair or replacement. Whereas this fund is maintained as a separate account funded from the water budget at $25,000 per year, is a money market fund at M&T Bank and has approximately $82,500 as a balance. And whereas the 2018-19 fiscal year has ended and a June 27 profit and loss detail run shows a recap of costs that includes short-term asset repair and replacement, and such costs were borne already by the water budget. Whereas the mayor, treasurer, and controller intend to review the expenses and identify costs that should be incurred in the STA, that's the code for short-term asset fund, in order to set up the transfer from M&T back to the water fund. Be it resolved that Mayor Ed Blundell and the financial team are fully authorized to establish qualifying expenses, complete and sign requisite transfer documents at M&T Bank in order to claim back the incurred costs and deposit them in the water fund account at Key Bank. So essentially, we're trying to go to the new money market, take short-term asset repair, replacement money, put it back in the water fund. Because in the real world, we could have done that each time one of these expenses came in, but there's no way that we do that with a CD. So we were kind of carrying it.
So do you want a second so we can discuss?
Sure.
I'll second.
Okay, we'll open up for discussion.
So the second whereas
Mhm.
this fund is maintained as a separate account funded from the water budget, is a money market. It's a CD right now. It's going to be turned into a money market?
So already
It already
convert.
has
Yeah,
been.
yeah.
Okay,
We already voted on that.
all right.
Today it is a money market, but June, like May 30, it got converted this fiscal year.
Mhm.
So. But Brent, rather, you're not looking to roll a total 82.5 back, it's just whatever those, as I see it, it's some number between 9,000 and 15,000, somewhere in that range.
And would there be a separate line then that we would put in the water budget for this transfer, or how would we keep track?
Treasurer?
Well, it's a separate checking account, so it can't really go into, so when it gets transferred into the water, you'll see it on reports. It'll become part of the water fund balance.
Be like another income, or what do we have?
And just so we know where it's coming from.
Well, that has to be determined, where it's gonna go to. It'll come from the water money market.
So would you show on your monthly report then that money market then to show the balance?
Put at it.
Right now, the revenue lines we have are meter sales, water finals, service charge, tapping fees, penalties, interest earnings. It's not a metered water sale. You'd probably have to go to 2401. I think he's going to ask where you're going to identify it, you know. Can you guys see that, or?
That's something we could work out, right?
Well, it could also pay back where it came out of, each one.
That might make more sense. That would be probably,
Whatever line item, wherever it came from.
because that'd be cleaner
Yes.
in the end. Well,
That
no,
would be from this fiscal year then,
prior,
2018-19?
yeah. Yeah, I think that,
Mhm.
how would you do that? Like if it's 15 grand, you would put 1225 there and,
Well, however you break it
Yeah,
down.
yeah. yeah.
So we have some indication where the money's coming from and going to.
Yeah.
It's just not rolled into some pot of gold that we can't track, but.
So does it make sense to everybody? Just trying to kind of
Yep.
pull back some money we have in reserve that we're not really.
Mhm.
So we've read it, we have a second, we had discussion. Any other thoughts, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. So I'll have to work on that this week. While we're moving money, let's see, celebrations, transfer, hardscrabble, and then I threw in Sun Carnival just to talk about it. We talked about Sun Carnival already, so we don't need to do that. But each year, this time of year, we have in our celebrations budget, this year we put $5,000. $1,000 was for helping the firemen. We're going to buy some music for the evening celebrations at the firehouse. And then historically, we moved $2,000 from our celebrations line over to the hardscrabble account. And this helps us to seed money. As always, we're out pushing for sponsors. We can announce that Rhinebeck Bank has come in already as the prime sponsor. And this is our current website. Is not, it's kind of a save the date kind of a website, but they're already getting their play there. And these guys also look like they're coming in for pretty significant money again, so. And this website was updated a little bit too. It's kind of cool. It's got some rotating photos. It's kind of fun to watch. But anyway, historically move, I didn't write up an actual resolution. I guess I did more as a form of a motion. We have that existing celebrations line account. I would ask that in the form of a motion that the board authorize movement of $2,000 from celebration line over to the hardscrabble account specifically designed for Hardscrabble Day. Is there a second?
Second.
I heard second, Jay or Brent. I forget who I heard, but it's any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thanks. Community solar update. We had multiple meetings here with a lot of public comment. We went through seeker. We went through the Monroe balancing process. And then we had those draft versions of the lease, and we did get the wording we needed in that one section that we're looking at. We've completed our side of the lease. It's off to be countersigned somewhere else. We're working with the town and some other documents that we said have to be developed. One is the actual contractual relationship where we get the savings and they call purchase agreements and so forth. So that's still underway, but the one heavy lifting aspect is done, and I'm still convinced it's going to be an awesome project. I drove, like we said, through Massachusetts. You see a lot of solar farms, different places, and they're low impact, and I think it shows that we're trying to work in a positive way with climate change and alternate energy and locally generated, so we're moving ahead. The next thing was water loop. We talk about this often. It's still, right now, the Traditions at Red Hook is actually building models. Like you all know, we've made a contractual agreement with those developers where they're paying 1.5 times our local village water rate, and they're doing all the meter reading and all the construction. We have no actual capital costs or development costs to us, which is how we justify the 1.5 versus the 2.0 for certain other town residents. They did get the main / master meter in. The main is in and the master meter is in. And right now, they're only using water for construction purposes, but we will be billing them for that, even though there's no actual house with a resident or anything. It's,
Construction purposes and keeping the nice lawn green and the
yeah, different
gardens
things, yeah. So we'll be starting to see some revenue from that. As a supplement to that, though, we've been working, trying to get that Route 9 south from around the Ulster Savings Bank toward Holy Cow, cross to Old Farm Road. And we've got agreements to sell water to the two owners that would benefit from that. That's Ross Brothers, who own the building that burned. They want to reconstruct something there. And then the Bayrite Hartscrabble Plaza area. They're in our supply formulas and so forth. We're still trying to get the nitty-gritty of an engineering aspect on the application that we send to DOH for that. And I don't know why it just hasn't been completed yet.
We're not
Pardon me?
finalized with the application yet?
No, the design and engineering is done, but there's some fields and some headings within the actual DOH application that we've been asking them to correct. And the engineers on the other side haven't done it. And again, that project, just to refresh and some new faces out there, it's, again, not at our cost. The landowners are incurring the legal, the engineering. We'll pay for our engineering of monitoring the construction, but they're designing, they're building, and then we're going to help get the perm application to cross with directional drilling under Route 9 there, but it's not our costs. And right now, there's no users there. There's just going to be two master meters sitting for whatever gets built someday. But I want to keep you updated. I'm going to have to push, because our engineers are reminding their engineer of the need for the completed application so we can send it off. But I'll have to work on that more. And then the last thing, we mentioned it earlier in the meeting in the personnel discussion, Cindy's assistant clerk, Ari, has indicated she's resigning for employment elsewhere, and gives us staffing changes we need to address and ideas and input we'd like to talk about. But I don't think we're going to come up with the actual end game idea tonight. I had circulated the news to you folks when it came in to me about a week ago, whatever. She is leaving July 19th. We have to, I think, do some interim steps just to keep things flowing here. But then we could probably jump into executive session in a minute and talk about individual people and jobs and things that are a little more personal and we'd want to do in public session. I've hit the things I have there on my checklist for tonight's meeting. As a rule, we do have public comment. Looks like some of our normal attendees must be on vacation this week if they take vacations. We'll say hi to George if he's out there somewhere. And then we do have somebody. Do you have any public comments, sir? Well, occupancy is 89. We'll give you 43. What's that? Half 89 you get. But if you do, we would ask. Panda picks us up better if we give you this and just say who you are. And, huh?
I just remain seated.
I would face her if you do. If you whatever. It's,
Okay. I'm David Pearson, community member in the Village of Red Hook. My first question is, I believe it looks like a traffic study was done on Park Avenue recently. And do you have access to those, to that data?
not the freshest data, but we do. We have access to it.
Yeah, I previously seen data from the Highway Department in the county, and a long time ago, and just since I saw it being done again, I'd like to know what some of the speeds of people are doing down my road.
Yeah.
I've talked to you before about asking to reduce it to 25 from 30, and saying that Rhinebeck does that, but
That might be, oh, okay. There's something in your mic went crazy, but well, yeah.
Didn't like the question.
You were saying, when we heard the buzz, she heard it first in her earphones, traffic data, and maybe say that again, what you were saying there. You saw some numbers once, and then?
Yeah, I saw some numbers a long time ago from the county highway department, and I'd like to see it again. Obviously, there's somebody has the data. I'd like to see it again and see how fast
Yeah.
people are going down my street. And I said it before, I'd like to see 25 miles per hour on Park Avenue, but, you know, I haven't been too keen on that idea, but I'd love to see it. Because
Yeah.
Rhinebeck, all the back streets of Rhinebeck have 25 miles an hour.
Yeah, I don't know about the Rhinebeck side, and we do know our experience is that we can do linear speed reductions. We can't make blanket village speed reductions. So if you said whatever Park Avenue is, what would you guess, 1,500 feet, whatever that length is, we'd have to incorporate into our code, here's the speed limit. I do know when I walk it, when it was built, it's built very wide. It's like, unfortunately, I think too wide. It's sort of a bypass. Yeah, that's one of the reasons, but we need to get over there with Water Phase 3 and do something, but it's, but on your questions, Brent could jump in too, but the agency that was surveying the speeds most recently is the Poughkeepsie,
It's just the Dutchess County.
yeah, it's PCTC.
Transportation
Poughkeepsie-
Council.
Yeah, it's Poughkeepsie something, Transportation Council.
It's affiliated with Dutchess County Planning, so, yeah, so it's called
Yeah, yeah, it's,
Dutchess County Transportation Council, and Mark DeBold would be the guy, Mark DeBold. Yeah. And I don't know if they're done, usually they circulate to the municipalities, the results of where they've tested. And they do various streets at different times, throughout the year or whatever, and we don't sometimes even know when they're doing it, but
Well, that part they're good about. They do give us notice because in case we're digging or something, they don't want to be in the way.
Another idea that was done before with Park Avenue was putting white lines on either side, 2 or 3 feet out from the edge, and it's a traffic calming method. Maybe consider that instead at some point.
that might be a good idea too, if we got room for a bike lane on.
Yeah, it would help with bikes. That's another pet peeve of mine. It's against the rules to have bikes on the sidewalks. I see it all the time. I walk my dog at night, somebody rides up behind me, scares the hell out of me.
You know, you're
It'd
right.
be nice to have on Park Avenue a place for bikes to ride too, for that space.
That's a good idea.
I like that idea because that would be, instead of just painting a white line, it's more functional too, as far as and
So if we have the width.
could narrow the
So it in effect narrows the road,
yeah
and people will go slower then.
yeah.
It sort of, it works a little bit. So that's one.
Well, let us think about those for a moment before you go. We just did pay. I don't know if you were here. We talked about we did our street striping already for stop bars and things, but nothing to say we can't get the guy back for another quote.
I just keep it in mind.
And then speed, we did share with the town. We now are co-owners of a speed trailer. I don't know if they've put it on your street yet, but they're putting it different places. It does real-time traffic count and speed monitoring that we get right here ourselves off a chip. And it's also good, in my opinion, it has an effect of reminding people that the speed limit exists. Sometimes I think people just daydream, whatever it is they kind of go through. But if they see this thing talking to them visually, it's like, whoa. And they're not sure how much it's reading or talking to somewhere else,
Another idea is the police hang out right in front of the chiropractor's office, try to catch speeders coming into the village. Maybe they could hang out once in a while on Church Street Extension and look for speeders on Park Avenue.
Yeah. I know what you mean where they park, and it's a
I
good
know-
spot.
I know when I see a cop at that's a normal spot they watch,
Yeah.
I always go slower.
Right,
Always,
yeah.
for the foreseeable future, I do that.
Because I think we might have talked, if we put them in Church Street Extension, but it's so visible, I don't know, it's like, I guess you do want visibility, but they're not going to catch anybody, It's, but yeah, we could think of some ideas there.
All right, last item is, Elmendorf did their improvement, right?
Little green lot.
The
Yeah,
parking lot
yeah,
out, the grass in. And there's always been a problem with people parking where they're not supposed to park, there's no parking signs on the Cherry Street there's 3 signs that say no parking. One that says no parking to the corner, and the other say no parking at all, and people still park there for stewards. It'd be nice to rearrange the signs a little bit, maybe closer together, so there's not too much space between the 2 of them, that somebody can still park there. Because it would really help Elmendorf out if we could make that spot a spot that nobody parks anymore. Because right now there's big divots in the side road, off the road.
So you're talking about the north side of Cherry Street?
North side of
Yeah.
Cherry Street.
Well, I know we have block grant ideas we're kicking around. We're thinking of applying for a sidewalk for them, for Cherry Street. I say for them, it would be municipal purpose, but we haven't quite figured out where we'd put that as far as, would we curb it was one discussion I think we were having, which if we curb, but your ideas, I think we should incorporate it into whatever we come up with, because, but what you're saying is right now there are no parking signs, but you think they're too far apart that
Too
people,
far apart, people park between
Mm.
two,
and where they park there and they run into Stewart's and.
yeah, you see it all the time. And Elmendorf is also talking about a sidewalk there too.
Well, that's, yeah, we're in with them, that's what we're, do we put it right at the road edge? Do we build a curb? Do we go in? There's a tree right there that kind of, we have to go around somehow, and,
Boulder there too.
yeah, we can move the boulder, Dan it like that,
They
right?
took one bold, they took a few away, and there's one left.
Yeah.
Right in line where the sidewalk's gonna be. Maybe,
Or-
if we get a
yeah.
grant.
We have to keep Dan from cutting the tree down, but he probably would, he would probably love to move the boulder,
Don't
though.
get me started.
But David
Uh-oh.
sits on the village green committee,
Oh,
so
right,
so
yeah.
we're aware of
But,
tree maintenance.
yeah, tension. But yeah, like I said, we are planning on something with a sidewalk, and it does have implications with a curb or drainage and different things there, so.
I originally wanted just the sidewalk level with the road, put it on Park Avenue, but you guys put a curb in instead.
Yeah,
It was being put in initially without the curb, and then the decision was made to put the curb in while they were starting
Yeah.
construction. Remember that?
I remember something came up, but,
It originally didn't have a curb. They poured,
They started working on it.
they
without a
poured a sidewalk, and then someone ran over it. So they actually down at Linden Avenue, they actually poured, I believe, that sidewalk 3 different times. And the third one, they put a curb in. So, and that just continued in. And because it's right on the street, there's no buffer,
Right.
a green buffer between there. It's just, we felt that it was a safer thing to do.
Yeah, I guess so. It's just you have drainage issues, and then also, one side has a sidewalk,
I mean,
one
it-
side has a curb, one side.
If you look at the sidewalks that we do have that are right up against the road, you know, we would prefer a tree lawn or a buffer, a green buffer for snow storage. But where we can't do that, or we can't, you know, even on West Market Street, when we got the DOT grant for that, because of the right-of-way, we put it right up, but we needed a curb there, now, just to separate, give a little bit of protection to the pedestrians from the cars.
Okay.
thank you, sir. We'll take those under advisement. All
It
right.
was a good idea, white lines.
George here.
George, we miss you. What I did, one thing from the board, I did get a letter from Tom LeGrand, managing agent for Knollwood Commons. And he'd like to schedule a meeting with the village attorney, his engineer, himself, and myself about moving forward with the village taking the roadway, which is the Knollwood Commons Loop. And it's been built a long time. And I think we'd have to refresh a lot of memories. Like,
Project's done. I think they
It's-
came initially to us and we weren't going to take it until construction was over.
yeah, and so we'll have to look at that. It's an odd, I guess highway had some input when it was built in that it's a loop, and I don't know where you push the snow when you're looping like that, you know.
Parking behind on the commercial buildings there, so I think the idea was to push it off the side.
Yeah, and then I'm trying to guess how old it's been occupied. 10 years. The road might need repairs. I don't know. It's like, so somehow we'd have to look at, do we, you know, like our attorney, wrong word, usually our engineer would go look at a nearer to actual completion time to propose what needs to be done for taking, but it's been so long. But I can talk to our attorney, excuse me, our engineer some more and see what's up. It's something he's asking for. I would like to move that we go to executive session to discuss a matter pertaining to employment of particular individuals. Is there a second?
Second.
And what we do is, we'll be back, but the meeting's essentially over, and, yeah, we have transacted all our business, and,
We won't be offended.
but you can, the Panda, Amanda of Panda has to stay, but we won't be that long, okay? So we moved, and did we vote on that? We're into executive, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're back at the board. We were in executive session, and I would ask that we formally close executive and move back to regular session. Is there a
So
second?
moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have no other working business other than the vouchers are moving up and down here. I see they're by Charlie. Have they been through Mr. J over there?
Yep.
Okay.
They have.
And so that's good. As is our custom, we need to make a motion to approve payment of these after audit.
So
they've been-
moved.
They've been audited. All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And then Brent, unless you have more to talk to us about, I
It's the
think.
BK broiler. Do your thing.
I have nothing further to discuss with the board, but I would like to make a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night. Thanks, everybody.